This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. We are, by nature, by evolution, social creatures. We crave relationships. Of course, we want them to be wonderful, fruitful relationships. How can you improve in your relationships, whether it's personal, work? How can you just raise your consciousness, just feel better overall? There is something called NLP that can help you get that done. Neuro linguistics programming. I know it's a little woo-woo sounding, but it's impactful. It's been around for a long time. And to learn more about that, we've got somebody that helps people with this all the time. She is the woman behind Progressive Edge NLP, Progressive Edge plus NLP. Nadine Hanchar joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
NLP. I've heard of it for a long time. I wonder if it's connected to hypnotherapy. Is it?
Well, there could be an argument for that and against it. So, what I will say is that NLP is really about running the human computer. And if you have a glitch in your computer, then how do you fix it? And so that's kind of what I specialize in. So if someone, say, experienced a trauma, instead of having to relive the trauma again and again and again and again and again, which is often what happens, we can actually do that fairly quickly it's a very result-oriented type of therapy.
Is it you, and I may have had NLP and didn't even know it over the years with a practitioner, not just some random person coming up and saying things, but neuro-linguistics programming. Is it really about you making suggestions to somebody using certain language and or phraseology to get a result?
That's a part of it. One of the things about NLP is it's a very large field. So you can use NLP and apply it to business. You can use NLP and apply it to sports. You can use NLP and apply it to health, mental health. So it's a very versatile field. Yeah.
For sure. And especially if you want to influence others, it's my understanding that attorneys harness the power of NLP to go in a certain direction, even in advertising. When you hear things like, don't buy a car until you go to the ABC car lot. My understanding is there's a little piece of NLP in there because it's triggering you with the word stop, because we're telling people don't do this, but they will do this in doing that.
Well, actually, what they're utilizing there is that the unconscious mind does not register negatives. So if I said to you, don't think of a blue tree, what do you think of?
Yep. Exactly right. Yes.
So in order for your unconscious mind to make sense of what you're saying, so it's really about the internal representation that your unconscious mind needs to make sense out of things.
For sure.
Right? So, but that again is one part of it. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like I'm taking a rock and skimming it on the NLP lake. And then to your point, don't buy a car until you've been to the ABC car lot. What are you going to do? I'm going to the ABC car lot. I don't know why, but I'm going there. You have a lot of experience in this, and we're going to dig deeper into it. But as a seasoned counselor, consultant, facilitator, author, we're talking like over 3.5 decades of helping people with different modalities. What are you hearing now from a lot of people that you work with? What are they dealing with? Is it a lot of anxiety? Is that kicked up during COVID, maybe some depression? Is that still floating out there?
Absolutely. COVID had a very hard effect on a lot of people in terms of their mental health, in terms of their ability to socialize, their ability to, do things. It affected their professions. It affected a lot of people. It affected me. I ended up having to go online. Up until 2020, I did everything offline.
Wow.
Now I see clients both online and offline, but so I had to learn how to do this very quickly.
And here we are, thanks to technology, and probably I don't want to thank COVID for anything, but if there's good things that
Uh,
come from it, you know,
yeah.
we're all way more comfortable in meeting this way digitally. What was your wake up, Nadine? Where your journey? How did it get you to helping people using these modalities?
Well, it started a very long time ago, Steve. I actually started taking workshops and courses and things when I was about 16, 17. I think I did my first transcendental meditation course way back then. So I was kind of just an odd child, I guess, searching for meaning in life. And at about 18 or 19, I started actually doing workshops for women, for women's empowerment, um, mainly because I had gone to a workshop with someone who had lots and lots of credentials, but they couldn't run a workshop. And,
Hmm.
and so I spent the whole workshop taking the energy back from the energy hog in the room and giving it back to the facilitator for a workshop I paid for. And I decided, I could do a better job. So I actually had the audacity to put a course together and advertise it. And I actually had women much older than me attending it, and they all got something out of it, which was great. And so that
Oh.
gave me kind of a push in that direction. So I got started in a different way than most people do. Um,
But you had the passion. You felt there was a need. It wasn't being met with that event that you went to. Um, yeah, odd question, but I'm going to throw it out there. You think things happen for a reason? You think that may have happened for a reason to help push you in that direction, show you?
I believe everything happens for a reason.
I do too. I do. There's probably a reason we're here today together. And if we keep drilling down deeper, I'll bet you we'll figure it out. I'll bet you there's probably mutual connections, even though you're in Canada, right?
I am. I'm in
Yeah.
Victoria, Canada. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm in New York, but there's probably reasons once you look deeper into it. How did how did you most recently help somebody? And I'm sure they have lots of aha moments when you're working with them. Anything stand out for you? And this is all confidential, but a story that you could
So
share.
yeah, what I'm going to say is that the way that I help people the most is actually with my PEP personality process. So I developed that. I'm the developer of that particular process. And literally, like when I get a couple in the room with me, I deal with them quite differently than most other therapists do. So the first time they come to see me, I have them do their PEP personality process, and then I explain how that works for each of them, and then how where the sort of off going points are, like where they would miscommunicate and that kind of thing. And oftentimes what I hear is, well, those are our issues. You've just described our issues to us. And I don't allow them to tell me anything about what's going on for them prior to telling them their PEP personality process. So sometimes I get things like, are you psychic? Have you been
Uh,
following us around? Right. And then I see each of them individually because I don't allow anybody to dump on anybody else. So I see them each individually, and if they're going to dump, they actually do it in their own personal session. And then we
hmm.
get back together and we work on solution. So that's how I work with couples.
Wow. So I'm seeing this in a very different light. So you help to actually improve relationships, and I wasn't seeing it as you working with the couple. I was seeing it completely individually. Um, but it can all work in different ways. PEP, you mentioned that as your process. What's it stand for? PEP.
Well, PEP is Personal Enrichment Programs was my
Okay.
original company name. And then so then it's the personality process. But the the thing about that is it works with individuals too. I use my personality process with everyone that comes into my office, whether it be online, whether it be offline. I actually do that process with them to start because it actually gives them a sense of the fact that I know them in a different way than other people do.
Mm-hmm.
and it also helps them to understand themselves in a different way, and to confirm some things for themselves that they thought they knew about themselves.
Would you say, and I'm going very broad here, so just roll with me on this here.
Yeah.
You're working with a couple. Is this maybe a teeny bit like, loosely put, love languages, where you identify what makes somebody tick, what they want, what they don't want? And again, very light look at this.
Well, I do identify their love languages within
Okay.
the personality process. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
and I actually did that before that came out. So, so yeah.
I say this all the time, and it's learned in the journey that before you get into a serious relationship, you should be doing the PEP profile, love language, whatever it is, to identify what you need. I firmly believe many relationships that have ended would still be together if people did this in the beginning. So at least they know what they're dealing with, with the other person.
And I do actually have people do that. Often people that have gotten out of a relationship when they're getting into a new one
Mm,
will do that with me. Um, the thing that I guess I'm going to say to you is that in my system, there's 24 different processing styles. So there's 4 zones and 4 components, and there's 24 different ways that those can get together. So depending on what component is in what zone tells me a lot about the person. And so I wrote a book on it. So I mean,
mhm.
people want to check it out. The book's called Knowing Me, Knowing You, the PEP personality process.
That
So
was actually a song by ABBA back in the
it
70s.
was. I was an ABBA fan.
Ah, look at you. Look at that. Oh, I wish you were here. We're doing I do a lot. And we have a concert that I'm connected to at a venue. I'm connected to that. And we're doing an ABBA tribute show in August. Wish you were here.
Oh, yes. Actually, we went to one here in Victoria
Oh,
last year, but yes, it was great. It was really
wow.
good.
I hear it playing in my head, knowing me, knowing you. Uh-huh. Wow. The PEP, PEP personality process, when you're working with a couple, how long does it take to go through the entire process with them?
Oh, that really depends on their issues.
Okay.
Um, so the pet personality process itself takes 1 session to go through it with them.
Hmm.
But then, getting into, then we have 2 more, a session each, right?
Okay.
So that I understand what their issues are, and then we work on solutions. So it just depends on what, if a person is having difficulty, if they're having difficulty in the bedroom, it's different than if they're, someone cheated, right? So
So what I find interesting is this isn't just a personality profile. This is where, okay, and I've done strength assessment tests, and I think they're fantastic. I've disc assessment, I don't know if you're aware of those, Clifford strengths, and I find it fascinating. This is where my strengths are. This is where I roll. It's not talking or identifying problems. So that's where I find this interesting. You are
well,
going into this with a goal of figuring things out.
exactly. I find humans absolutely fascinating. And so yeah, so it's a very, so the difference between my personality processing thing and everyone else's is that I actually have tools that they can actually use when they go out of balance. So we have in balance qualities and out of balance qualities. And, it's a very practical, I'm a very practical person. So very solution driven. So it's all about giving them practical tools. How do they actually work together? How do they bridge each other's processing styles? Um, you know, if they understand where the pitfalls are, can they avoid them, or how do they work with them if they go into them, and that kind of thing. So,
Let's say you have a couple before you,
mhm.
and there was infidelity, and that's their challenge. Now you have trust issues. You have one part of the couple trying to figure out why would this person ever do this. Using the PEP process, how would you help bring that couple together or fortify their relationship in a situation like that?
Well, yeah, you always choose the hard ones, don't you? I mean, infidelity is probably one of the most challenging because they've broken trust.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on what the processing styles are, because some processing styles are much more forgiving than
Hmm.
other ones.
Sure.
So once trust is broken, sometimes it's not gonna come back, actually. So the biggest piece there is that the person who cheated has to be absolutely transparent. Like
Mm.
they have to be super honest, super transparent. They also have to really, really show that they want to continue the relationship,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Um, and if that isn't there, chances are they won't make it.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just assume that they're before you because for a reason. They something happened, and we can identify why that would happen. Many say when a person cheats, they have issues from their past that are unresolved. It's not always about, oh, I'm not getting what I need. And that can be part of it, but ultimately, what are your thoughts on that? You deal with
I'm
a
gonna
lot.
I'm gonna tell you something about people who step out of the relationship. Generally, it's not really about the partner. It's really about whatever their issues are. And so
Yeah,
it and and so even though the partner takes it very hard, it's really not about them. And it's usually quite often it's actually not even about sex, which is what people think it's all about.
yeah,
I'm not saying that it's never about that, but I'm just saying it's not, often it's not.
sure. Yeah, and the more that my life goes on, I look at others, everything, put it all together. Just what you said is 100% true. When you really start looking at everybody, I have friends going through it, and then identifying the person that did the cheating, what their upbringing was, maybe what was missing, maybe they're trying to find that connect with a parent that they didn't connect with, and they're trying to find that in somebody. Whatever. There's a million different reasons why it could take place.
Yeah, that's true. The thing that I guess I'm going to say is that, I also use this system with, small businesses, small business teams,
Mm,
helping them with their communication, with their
wow.
with their leadership and that kind of thing as well. So, I often deal with business partners who are having conflicts.
I
So
was
it's
just
not,
going to go there, actually. I was just,
yeah.
yeah. That is fascinating. Yeah, it's all types of relationships. But back to the beginning, the people that come before you have to want to make it work, else it's not going to work.
Yeah. Oftentimes people wait too long to come to counseling.
Mm,
They come when they're actually on the verge of stepping, divorcing, whatever. I mean, not that that can't be reversed, but sorry. The reality is that the sooner they can get in with the issues, the better they are going to
yep.
do in counseling.
On your website, there's a wonderful quote, Charlie Chaplin, and I've looked at it a number of times and processing it. I'm going to read it. As I began to love myself, in parentheses here, we should be loving ourselves. And that's for another podcast if you're not or haven't figured that out. As I began to love myself, I found that anguish and emotional suffering were only warning signs that I was living against my truth. There's a lot
Mhm.
of good stuff there. How do you internalize that quote?
Well, okay, I'll say it in a different way. I think
Sure.
that every relationship is based on our relationship to self. So everything we do out in the world, every relationship we have, every interaction we have is based on a relationship to self. And it comes out in lots of different ways. Um, but for instance, if I'm a pleaser, right?
Hmm.
Many people are.
Yep.
If I'm a pleaser and I go out, I'm sorry, I got a little frog in my throat. And I end up, doing and doing and doing for people. I'm actually teaching them how to be disrespectful to me. Because if I'm doing stuff that isn't respectful of myself, I'm actually teaching other people how to be
Mm,
respectful of me. And then I wonder why they step all over my boundaries and why they don't give me the credit or give me whatever it is that I'm looking for. Right. So, there's again, the relationship we have with self is so important. And that's one of the things that I really work with a
mm.
lot.
Wow. It's I'm hearing my mother's voice, and she always used to say, if you let them, they will. So if you let them, take advantage of you, or if you're just always trying to please everybody, then they're always going to be coming to you for whatever that is.
Mhm.
Um, in this quote, I think it's profound. As he's trying to realize, yeah, I got to love myself, is when he says that I found that anguish and emotional suffering were warning signs. Do you feel that he's saying, I'm seeing it now that I'm loving myself because now it's a different perspective. And now I see the emotional suffering and all that stuff now more prominent in my face. Do you think that's what he's saying there?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Hmm. And living against your truth is, how do you define that?
Well, I call it intuition, which some people
Okay.
think is too woo-woo, but
No, not here. Yeah. Hmm.
a lot of people call it by different names, but I really think
Wow.
that we need to tune into our intuition in our heart because that's where it actually resides.
Yep.
Um, so, and there's been a lot of science now on the heart consciousness and heart brain and that kind of thing.
For sure.
Um, and so, it's like when we tune into the heart is where our energy is. It's where our motivation is. It's where we can actually get the guidance that we need to stay on track, um, and to step out of our comfort zones when we need to.
I have to be very honest with you. Love talking with you. And wow, living your truth. I never thought of it as your intuition, but I totally do now. Yeah, it is what is inside telling you what you should be doing. But if you're going against it, you're going against your truth. This is who you are. And we're born with this wonderful power ability, whatever you want to call it, of it telling you what the answer is. I firmly believe that. And the more and more I test my intuition and go against it, big things, little things, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And it's kind of interesting when you kind of trace your life back and you see those things. Um, if this resonates with somebody, and there's lots we've talked about here in terms of NLP. Didn't even know about your process with PEP. How do we find you? What's the best way, Nadine?
Well, my website probably, which is www.progressiveplus.com, plus spelled Plus.
Free consultation if somebody wants to talk.
I do what's called a get to know session,
Sure.
and it's a $50 fee, but it's $50 Canadian. So for any Americans that come to see me, they get a big discount because our dollar is so bad against yours.
Wow. All right. Okay. Bonus there, I guess. But I'm also guessing that even in that session, things will be revealed. Things will be revealed.
Absolutely.
Wonderful talking with you. Thank you for the insight on all of this. And that, in terms of it's like you're a couples counselor. Again, I'm loosely putting that, but with results that come from it. And I find it fascinating. You can figure somebody out just by this process and figure out a relationship. Super cool.
Well, maybe we'll have to do that, Steve.
I'm on board for anything, by the way. I have nothing to hide. I find that super interesting. Um, Looking forward if we get a chance to get together again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.